ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the MSP Online Marketing Podcast. As always, I am your host, Chad Lyons. Now, before I begin, I'd like to invite you guys to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. You can always find us just by searching for Epowet, EPOWET. We publish a lot of good tips and tricks on those platforms to help out with your marketing. And so, especially on the YouTube channel, we even post basically the Cliff Notes version of these podcast episodes. So if you want a refresher, or maybe you just want to experience the content in a visual way, then definitely check us out on YouTube. One last thing before we get started. As I was writing the script for this episode, I realized that unless you're like sitting down somewhere with a pen and paper, there's a lot to digest in this episode. And I doubt that's what's going on. If you're anything like me, you may be listening to this while you're on your daily commute or folding laundry or, whatever the case may be. So what we've done is we've compiled the content from this episode into a convenient and easy to use checklist. And we're going to give that away. It's completely free of charge. And so later on in this episode, I'll show you how you can get that. And you know what? I know. But the thing is, with this content, it's not really standalone content. There's context. You need to know the reasons why, and it'll make a lot more sense after you've listened to this episode. So that's why we're putting it there at the end. So bear with me. And at the end, I'll give you the link. And you know what? We both know that if you really wanted to skip to it, you could. You just skipped right to the end. So I do the same thing sometimes. But that out of the way, let's get to it. So last week, I kind of introduced the theme of this season, which is growing your tech services business with search engine optimization. We dug in a little bit to what SEO actually is and talked about how you can think of it kind of like real estate. Ranking highly in search engines is kind of like having a business downtown, right? You're getting a lot of traffic. It's relatively easy to get people to visit, and you don't really have to spend a whole lot on advertising. We talked about how it's kind of location in both instances. On the flip side, ranking poorly in search engines is like having a business several streets away from Main Street, maybe even in a bad part of town. It's much harder to get that foot traffic, and you've really got to be investing pretty heavily in advertising in order to get more customers. So that was last week. And if you're a little fuzzy on what SEO is, I would really encourage you to go back and check out that episode, because that's where we kind of go into all that. This week, we're going to move on, and we're going to talk a little bit about creating the type of content that Google loves. Now, what I mean by that is the topics specifically. So I'm not going to cover things like copywriting, blog formatting, or metadata. Those elements are important too, and so I will cover them in a later episode. But for today, we're focusing on the topics. So what does that mean, the topics? Well, it really starts with your keywords. And so we're going to talk a little bit about how to do an effective, localized keyword search. Then we're going to talk about how you can use those keywords to create content that is highly targeted and is SEO focused. And lastly, we're going to talk about a really easy way that you can use to put all of that together into an effective, comprehensive content strategy. Real quick, before jumping into keyword research, maybe we should talk about what keywords are and why they're so important. When we say keywords, we're talking about the words and phrases that people use to search the internet. Keywords are important to you because they are how people find things that relate to your business. So if people are searching for IT services, they're searching for MSP, they're looking for IT help, they're looking for virus removal in your area, those are keywords that you can utilize to get that traffic. Google also tracks keywords. They track what people are searching for online, and they provide business owners and marketers with a few tools and a lot of data to help us make intelligent decisions about the types of words and phrases to focus on when we're writing the content for our website, whether that be our web pages themselves, our blogs, and so on. So when it comes to local SEO, so that is the getting your business to show up in relevant searches that people are performing in your service area. When it comes to that local SEO, having a good understanding of the keywords that your ideal customers are using, that gives you a huge advantage. The magic about keywords is that they really reflect the intent of the person searching the web. So for example, let's say that someone searches for outsource IT in Bremerton. If someone is searching for that, you can probably bet they aren't just doing that search for fun, right? They're looking for a company that can solve their IT problems for them. And it's very likely that they intend to make a decision. And that decision is, who are they going to hire to take care of their IT? That search is going to result in an MSP or an IT services company getting a new client. Does that make sense? So here's a cool statistic for you. 29% of those who search for a local business on a mobile device call or visit that business within 24 hours of that search. So almost a third of the people who are doing that type of local search are going to make contact. So Google understands all of this. They understand intent, and they know that local searches are done with the intention of taking action. So to better serve their customers, Google's algorithm tries to show highly specific location-based results when people search. In fact, next time you're on Google, do a search for something like coffee shop and see what Google is showing you. Are they showing you results for coffee shops in the next town over, or are they showing you coffee shops that are right down the street? Even though you're not specifying that you want something that's like close by, Google kind of gets that. And the results that they show reflect that. Okay, so I know that was a lot of information. Let's do a very quick recap, okay? First, keywords are the words and phrases that people use to search the web. The keywords that a person uses often reflects the intent of that person. And because they understand that, Google tries to show localized results when it makes sense. Okay, so let's move on to how you can actually figure out which keywords you want to focus on. Figuring out which keywords to focus on is called doing keyword research. And it's a two-step process. The 2 steps for doing that research is first, idea generation, and secondly, idea validation. Idea generation is all about coming up with keywords that your audience, or really the people that you want to target, might be using. And there are a number of strategies that you can use to do this effectively and efficiently. Really, the first step is to think about your business and the types of services and products that you offer and turn those into keywords. You know, what are the names of your products? What are the names of your services? What are maybe even some brands that you carry, right? And so you put together a list of, say, like 25 keywords. And then once you have that list, that initial list that you've brainstormed yourself, then you can turn to some of the free online tools that can help you expand on them. And again, you know, all of the tools and stuff that I share with you guys, I'm going to try to make this true anyway. They're all going to be either free or very low cost because, you know, I know that most of you guys are marketing on a budget and want to make sure that you're getting the most bang for your buck. And if you can get something for free, shoot. So the first thing is that you can use the free keyword tool from WordStream. Now, this is at www.wordstream.com/keywords. And that may change in the future. So, you know, if you're listening to this, you know, depending on when you're listening to this, that may be true or not. But if you do a Google search for free keyword tool, WordStream, you're bound to get there. And that's basically, it's a pretty nifty tool. It helps you. It's really good for competitor keyword analysis because you can put in the website of a competitor and then select the industry, and then it will kind of grab a list of keywords for you. Google's keyword planner tool, of course, is another great tool that can help you. And we're actually going to be using that a little bit later on when we talk about the validation section. Now, you can also use Google's autocomplete function to see what comes up when you begin to type in some of your keywords. So let's say that one of the keywords that you came up with was virus removal. So you can begin to type that into Google, and Google will automatically begin making recommendations. So you might see things like virus removal free, virus removal for Android, virus removal for Mac, virus protection free, and so on. And that may seem somewhat repetitive, but remember, the goal isn't to necessarily copy exactly what you're saying. It's to get the wheels in your head turning so that you're thinking of new keywords that you can ideate and put down on paper. Another idea is to perform a search for a keyword in Google. Then you scroll down to the bottom of the page and there's a related searches area. And so if you type in, let's see, what was the example we used? Virus removal. So if you type in virus removal to Google and scroll down to the bottom of the page, there's this little section called related searches, and it'll show you about 8 other keyword combinations that people are using to search for things that are similar. And so you go down there and that'll, again, help you think of more keywords. And really the last idea I have for you is to visit your competitors' websites. And these should be competitors who are doing really well. So it might be like the big box competitors, the national competitors. And generally the philosophy there is that generally speaking, they kind of know what they're doing when it comes to SEO. So go there and, take a look at their menus and see what keywords they're using there. Look at their blog posts, see what topics they're covering. And, like I said, this isn't a perfect solution. I mean, they could be wrong, right? But again, the point is just to help you to come up with additional ideas. And, even if they're completely bombing it, that's okay, because you're getting new ideas and we are going to validate these ideas in the next step. So again, as you're doing this, make sure to keep like a notepad handy so that you can take note of the keywords you find, as well as any that you think of in the process that you want to validate. So once you have that nice big fat list full of keywords, how do you really know which one of those are any good? Of course, this is the time to validate those keyword ideas. You got to separate the wheat from the chaff, so to speak. You got to know which keywords are actually being used by your audience. And, the keywords that we come up with are not always the keywords that people are actually using, especially in the tech space, because, we might use terms like VoIP with VoIP. We might just use a voice over IP telephone, but a lot of people are going to be searching for business phones or internet phones, stuff like that. And so the ideas that you come up with and the ideas that people are searching for, it's not uncommon to have some big differences there. Okay, so here's how you actually validate your keyword ideas. First, you go to the Google Keyword Planner. Now, it can be a little bit tricky to get there. You need to have a Google Ads a Google Ads account. And you don't necessarily have to have a campaign, but you do have to have an account. And then once you're in your dashboard there, you click on the tools and then there's the keyword planner. So that's how you get there. It's a little tricky. You might have to kind of tinker around to figure it out. I don't know why Google doesn't make it easier to get there, in all honesty. But once you've got there once, you can bookmark it and you'll be able to find it again. And again, you need to have a Google Ads account. So that doesn't mean that you're spending money. You don't necessarily need to be spending money with them in order to access this tool. You do have to have an account though. Okay, so once you're in the Google Keyword Planner, the first thing you want to do is you want to set your location to your local metro area, right? Because you want to limit the results to those that are relevant to you. You don't want to be searching in, Kentucky if you're in California, right? So once you've done that, then you got to input the keywords that you've identified and do these a few at a time. Don't do them all at once, and don't do them one at a time because that'll take forever. And if you do them all at once, of course, it'll kind of muddy things. But put in a few at a time, maybe 3 to 5, maybe a little bit more. But once you've done that, then and you click search, it'll basically enumerate a whole bunch of related keywords. And so in those results, there's a column that is called, I think it's like average monthly searches. And so what you want to do is you want to sort by that column with the highest on top. And once you do that, then basically what you have there is you have keywords that are related to your keywords, right? So it's like it's based on your ideas, but these are keywords that people are actually searching for, and the ones at the top are the ones that are going to search for the most. So that's a valuable asset that you have right there. And then there's it's either a link or a button. I don't recall off the top of my head, but it says download keyword ideas. And so you click on that and you're able to download the results there in CSV format so that you can open it later on in Microsoft Excel or whatever spreadsheet application you use. So then at that point, what do you have? You have a validated list of keywords that people are looking for, right? And those are the keywords that you want to focus on in your content. So with those keywords, that they represent what people are actually looking for. So your next step really is to turn that into content. So how do you turn that into content? Well, our keyword research will provide you with a number of topics, and you can use those topics in your content. For example, let's use the VoIP example again. Okay. So maybe VoIP is trending in your area, and or maybe it's not, maybe it's like email security, but whatever the case may be, you now have a number of topics or services that you can focus on in creating your SEO driven content. So the way to get started with that, there's actually a pretty cool way that you can get started, kind of creating this whole body of content based on those keywords. And the way that you're doing that, you can use this to make sure that you're consistently creating relevant content that people want to see. And because that really, at the end of the day, that's what's going to boost your SEO. So what I recommend is once you have those keywords, put together a content calendar. And this should be a document that allows you to plan for themes. Okay. And these themes are going to be the topics that you're talking about. So you want to be able to plan for both monthly and weekly themes. So your monthly theme should be big enough that it has some sub themes that you can focus on each week, right? So each month, choose a theme that directly relates to one of those top performing keywords. Then you're going to create a piece of key content that fully fleshes out that theme. And, I'll provide you with an example in just a minute. So I know that some of these terms and stuff are confusing, but just bear with me and I'll use an example to help illustrate it and hopefully make it a little bit more clear. So you've got your key content that fleshes out that theme for the month. Then each week you're going to focus on like a sub theme of the main theme. So you have your weekly themes and your monthly themes, like I was saying. Then you use excerpts from that key content to drive that weekly and daily content that supports your theme. So I know probably clear as mud at this point, right? So don't worry. I've still got that checklist coming too. So but really the concept I want you to understand at this point is that you can make content creation easy by just coming up with a theme or topic and creating key content and then basing all other content on that key content. So it's kind of like this 3-step process of coming up with a theme, creating that content, then repurposing your content. And your key content, it should really be something significant. For example, think of like a webinar, an ebook, a white paper, case studies, how-to guides, etc. And a good rule of thumb with that when you're trying to come up with this is that your key content should take about 20 minutes to consume. So whether it's a 20-minute webinar or it's an ebook or white paper that takes about 20 minutes to read through. So I'm actually doing this right now. I wrote an ebook called Mastering SEO, a guide for IT services, telecom, and MSPs. And basically this whole season of podcasts is based on that ebook. As well as the blog posts, YouTube videos, and Facebook and Instagram posts that we're putting out there. It's all kind of based on this one ebook that I wrote. And that ebook, it's about 40 pages long, and it's providing me with just over a month's worth of content. And, don't mind repurposing content. So most of you, for example, are not going to download that ebook, right? Like I wish you would, but you probably won't. However, you are listening to this podcast. And there are plenty of other people who won't download the ebook, who won't listen to this podcast, but you know what they will do? They'll watch a 3-minute video on YouTube or a LinkedIn video, or they'll read a quick Instagram post. And my goal with this content is to get this information out there so that you guys can be even more successful with your online marketing. And so to that end, I'm more than happy to put this information in the various formats that are most convenient to different people. So do you see what I'm saying here? So when you repurpose your content, it's going to feel redundant to you, but in reality, you're just reaching people where they are. Okay, so that's a little bit of a tangent. So getting back to the content planning, let's use an example, okay? Let's say that your theme for the month is, let's say email security awareness training. So let's say that your key content is a 30-minute webinar, and it's called How to Secure Your Email in 5 Easy Steps. So let's say you just derive from that webinar 4 themes. And those 4 weekly themes are using magic links for login, multi-factor email authentication, social engineering awareness and training, and let's say email encryption. So you would then incorporate those weekly themes into your daily content, right? Or also your weekly content. So your weekly blog posts would be based on that week's theme. Your email newsletter would be based on that theme. And then your daily social media posts, which you should be doing daily, hopefully you're doing daily, they should kind of take that theme apart a little bit each day. And then that contributes to the whole. And so all of that's done fairly easy, right? Like you've got one large piece of content that you have to sit down and write. And, writing that sort of type of content, it takes a little bit of time, but it's not it's not too bad. Maybe a few hours on a Saturday or whatever the case may be, and then you've got content for the whole month. And then once you've created that piece of content, like I said, everything else, the emails, blog posts, social media, it's all derived from that. And this whole strategy of thinking of these keywords, validating the keywords, creating content based on these keywords, creating a massive piece of content and then breaking it down. This is really great for 3 reasons. Okay. The first reason is that Google loves it. Google loves it because you're using the top ranking keywords across multiple types of formats and on multiple platforms. Your audience loves it too. They love it because you're addressing topics that they actually want to know about. How do you know that they want to know about them? Because those are the highest ranking keywords. That's what most people are looking for. And you're giving them in-depth information that maybe they can't get anywhere else. And you're reaching them where they are, right? So if they are the type of person that's on social media a lot, that's great. You're putting your stuff on social media. If they prefer longer form, more formal content, then you've got that ebook or you've got that webinar that provides that for them. And lastly, you love it as well. And the reason that you would love this is because in each piece of valuable content, you're putting in a call to action that attracts and converts your audience from audience to lead. Because remember, these are really warm leads going into this process. One quick thing to keep in mind is don't reuse keywords in different campaigns. So if you focus on VoIP today, then don't focus on VoIP next month or the month after. Now, it's going to be tempting because, there's really only so many topics you can cover, or so it seems. But using the same keyword in multiple campaigns will eventually hurt your SEO because then you're kind of muddying the waters, really, so to speak, when it comes to like what your website's offering. A good alternative to using the same keyword is to use closely related but different keywords. When you conduct your keyword research, you're going to notice that a lot of the top keywords are very similar. So you can use the fact that they're similar but different. And then you can use that in different campaigns where you're targeting different keywords, but it's along the same lines of thinking, or it's ultimately about the same service, but it's about different features within that service. Or I'm sorry, forget I said features, different benefits within that service offering, right? And then you're targeting these similar topics, but they're not the same, and they're just different enough that you're not damaging your SEO at all. You just have to make sure that in your text, you're using the different keywords, right? So you don't want to use the same keywords each time. It's going to be, if you're doing stuff that's somewhat related, then it's going to be tempting to just reuse the same keywords. Just, don't do it. Go through it, make sure that you're doing stuff that's different. All right. So I think that actually wraps us up for this week. So at this point, you guys should be experts, right? You know how to come up with a ton of keyword ideas. You know how to figure out which of those keywords people are actually using. And you know how to integrate those keywords into your content in a way that improves SEO, makes Google happy, makes your customers happy, makes you happy. Now, like I said, that's a lot of information. So here's what we're going to do. Go to www.epowet.com. Okay, that's www.epowet.com. And in the menu, what you'll see is a link that says free resources. Click that link and then scroll down to the search engine optimization section, and you'll see the SEO keyword checklist, and you'll see that down there. Just click that link and it'll take you to where you can download the free checklist. And it's an immediate download. That way you don't have to try to memorize all this stuff. You don't have to kind of scrub through this episode a dozen times to try and take out the key points that you want to remember. It's all going to be right there. And I mean, I know you love my smooth, sultry tones, but no, we'll spare you that fate. So again, just go to www.epowet.com, click on free resources, scroll down to the SEO keyword checklist, and you're good to go. So that's all for me this week, ladies and gentlemen. Until next time,